He didn't scream. That was the first thing that told me he wasn't ordinary. The moment the air shifted, the moment that cold pressure pressed against my chest like invisible hands. Most people would have panicked, but he moved before fear could even form. A rough palm covered my mouth, firm, practiced, cutting off the sound before it escaped. "Don't breathe," he whispered, his voice calm in a way that made my spine go cold. That was when I realized this wasn't his first time standing this close to something that didn't belong in our world. The hallway felt narrower than before, as if the walls had leaned in to listen. The lights overhead flickered once, twice, and then stabilized. But the darkness between them felt thicker, heavier, like something was hiding just outside the reach of sight. I could feel it then, not with my eyes, but under my skin, a presence shifting slowly, deliberately, as if it knew exactly where we were standing. The woman beside us froze. Her face had drained of all warmth, a faint bluish tint creeping along her cheeks and lips. I didn't need to ask what that meant. I'd seen it before. She had the kind of expression that invited attention from things you never want noticing you. Her breathing grew shallow, barely audible. But the thing in the darkness reacted instantly. The air stirred. Something moved. Not footsteps. Not wind. More like a subtle distortion, as if space itself had been pushed aside. Then the bag at the far end of the corridor twitched once, twice. It looked ridiculous at first, a simple bag shifting on the floor, but I knew better. That wasn't movement. That was breathing. Slow, deliberate breaths, forcing air in and out of something that no longer had lungs. The man beside me narrowed his eyes, assessing, calculating. "Stay exactly where you are," he said, not looking at me. "If it locks onto you, don't run. Running makes it curious." That sentence alone told me everything. He'd tested that rule before. The woman's hands began to tremble. Her eyes followed the bag like it was the only thing left in the world. The moment her fear tipped over into panic, the temperature dropped. It wasn't dramatic. No frost, no visible mist. Just a sudden, unmistakable chill that slid down my spine and settled in my bones. The bag inflated slightly, collapsing and expanding again, like something inside was struggling to remember how breathing worked. That's when the man moved. He didn't rush. He didn't shout. He stepped forward once, placing himself half a pace ahead of us, and pulled something from his pocket. It wasn't flashy. No glowing symbols. No dramatic gestures. Just a thin strip of material, worn smooth by years of use, wrapped around his fingers with practiced efficiency. The pressure in the air shifted immediately, as if the thing in the hallway had noticed him for the first time. The breathing paused. Silence stretched, heavy and suffocating. Then the bag slid backward an inch, scraping softly against the floor. A warning. The man exhaled slowly. "Good," he murmured. "You still remember fear." He took another step forward. The lights flickered again, this time longer, and when they stabilized. The hallway felt longer than before. That was impossible. But I knew better than to trust what my eyes told me. Space didn't behave normally when things like this were nearby. The woman gasped. The sound was small, barely a breath, but it was enough. The presence surged forward, not fast, not slow, but inevitable, like gravity deciding it was time. The man snapped his wrist. The strip in his hand tightening, snapping into place with a sharp, clean sound that echoed down the corridor. The air cracked, not thunder, something sharper. The pressure exploded outward, slamming into my chest and forcing the breath from my lungs. The bag collapsed instantly, folding in on itself like it had been crushed by an invisible weight. The breathing stopped. Complete silence. For a moment. Nothing moved. I couldn't even hear my own heartbeat. Then the hallway exhaled. The lights steadied. The temperature lifted, just enough for me to realize how cold it had been. The man lowered his hand, his expression unchanged. But I saw it then, the tension in his shoulders. The slight tremor he didn't bother hiding. That move had cost him something. That was the easy one, he said quietly. The woman stared at the flattened bag, her knees nearly buckling. "Easy," she whispered. He turned to her, his gaze sharp. "Easy because it hesitated. Next time, it won't." He looked at me then, really looked at me, like he was measuring something invisible. "You felt it, didn't you?" I nodded. "Good," he said. "That means you're not dead." Wait. The corridor suddenly felt too open, too exposed. I had the distinct feeling that whatever had been lurking there wasn't alone. Things like that never were. Somewhere beyond the walls, beyond the lights, something shifted its attention. The man followed my gaze, his jaw tightening. "We don't stay," he said. "We move." Now, as we turned to leave, I realized something that made my stomach twist. The bag wasn't just empty. It was wrong. Flattened, yes, but marked, scarred, like something had been forcibly erased from it. Whatever had been inside hadn't simply disappeared. It had been pushed away. And things that get pushed away don't forget who did it. We stepped into the stairwell. The door closing behind us with a dull, final thud. The man didn't slow down. "Congratulations," he said without looking back. "You just officially stepped into it." And for the first time since this all began, I understood exactly what he meant. This wasn't an encounter anymore. It was a declaration.